Again, good morning and welcome to Interfaith Spiritual Center Worldwide, where we believe there's a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. I'll give this to Fleet. This is music. I had something that I wanted to share with you that I thought was very, very powerful. We're going to look at the Oneness Declaration by Neale Donald Walsch. Neale Donald Walsch, back here. Here we go. I'm going to be sharing with you the Declaration of the Oneness Foundation by Neale Donald Walsch, who was incidentally in my San Diego congregation. And he has written all the books on conversations with God. And Neale found himself, when he left San Diego, he went to Oregon, and he actually found himself homeless. And he wrote after a year of living in a tent in a park, he wrote a very angry letter to God. And he said he began receiving answers. And then he collected, these conversations with God. He took them to Time Warner. And Time Warner was very impressed. And they said, would $1 million to start you out work for you? Well, obviously it worked for him, and he just took off. And he used to be a ghostwriter for very famous authors. And I remember saying one day, Neale, you need to write your own books. And the contribution that Neale has made through his Humanities team, a Oneness Declaration, I invite each and every one of you to go to the site, the Oneness Declaration, and sign it. And I wanted to share with you a couple of those precepts. But we are going to acknowledge this month the Evolution Revolution, founded by Neale Donald Walsch. And I want you to know it has nothing to do with violence. It's about growing and unfolding and expanding our own consciousness to envelop the whole planet beyond color, race, creed, sexual orientation, and, oh yes, political affiliation. This transcends all of that. And it connects each and every one of us because we are all part of humanity. We are all brothers and sisters. And there was a very, very mystical thing that happened. And I want to just share this with you because I think it's so powerful. It's one of the legends. And this legend was on July 4th, 1776. And all of the founding fathers were sequestered, in a locked room, okay? And they were in a great heated debate. And they were verging on not signing the Declaration of Independence. And at that moment, most of the men feared for their lives and their families' lives. Well, think about it. They were going against King George. They were all part of this British community. And they decided, we want freedom. So they knew they would be traitors to the crown and would almost certainly be put to death if found. As these men were debating the issues and leaning toward not signing, a mysterious man arose from nowhere. Now remember, the doors were locked. There were guards at the door. Citing the grievances that had brought them to this moment, he said, sign the parchment. They may turn every tree into a gallows, every home into a grave, and yet the words of that parchment can never, ever die. For the mechanic in his workshop, they will be words of hope. To the slave in the mines, freedom. And he added, if my hands were freezing in death, I would sign that parchment with my last ounce of strength. Sign! Sign! Sign if the next moment the noose is around your neck. Sign! Sign even if the hall is ringing with the sound of the headman's axe. Sign, for that parchment will be the textbook of freedom, the Bible of the rights of man forever. Sign that parchment. And then it is said he fell back exhausted. But 56 delegates, swept up by his eloquence, signed the Declaration of Independence, a document destined to be as immortal as any work of man can be. And according to the story, when they turned to thank him for his timely oratory,
He could not be found, nor were there anyone who knew him. And he was gone through the locked doors, through the guarded doors. He was gone. I believe in the angel of the presence. I believe that energetically that there is a mystical element to the energy of our nation. I also believe there's the collective consciousness that uplifts us to realms of light and amazing acts of kindness and love. And there's the collective unconscious where the shadow bubbles up. And as that shadow bubbles up, we get to address it. So when we're looking at the evolution revolution and the opportunity to make a stand and take a stand on our oneness, regardless of what's going on in the outer world, and think of our daily lives, and especially with this pandemic going on, and the complaints and the energy that is given unto it. But I believe that we are in a chrysalis state, and that we are going to spread our wings on the other side of this. And if we are on the solution level, and if we are going within, if we are doing our spiritual work, and many of us, we know that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We came into the planet. We have a destiny to fulfill. We are called. Many are called, the Bible states, but what? Few are chosen. Right? Few are chosen. And that's our willingness to step forward, isn't it? It's that willingness to acknowledge that we have a responsibility. And the twin of responsibility is freedom. I was playing earlier this morning, Reverend Perry Lang did this amazing CD called Triumph. And it was regarding slavery. And he had these beautiful black voices singing gospel. And some of my colleagues, my African American colleagues, were on this amazing CD called Triumph. And as I listened to Amazing Grace, and we know Sir John Newton actually, put it, the lyrics, but it was the slaves on the ships that would hum that melody that haunted him. And he was a slave trader. And he had a moment of transformation and realized that the human condition is not about slavery. It's about freedom. And as he wrote those lyrics, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, and now I see. What is it that we see? We see through the appearances that show up. We see through these effects that we give our power away to. So when the conditions, the appearances, and the effects show up, they're just there for us to go within, to deny the reality of the outer, and to go within to the secret place of the Most High, to pray to our Father, Mother God in secret, and to know that when we have those difficult situations, that though the doors are locked and guards are at the door, that the angel of the presence enters. And when that angel of the presence enters, there is a guiding light. There is direction. And through this guiding light, we move in the knowingness that God goes before us and prepares the way as we become a lamp unto our own feet. That energetically, these 56 men, their higher selves wanted to sign this. But remember, the ego mind goes into the fear, and that I might be put to death, and I'll be considered a traitor. But the energy of light moves through the darkness comprehendeth it not, and shadows flee away forever. So we have a responsibility to ourselves, others, and ultimately the planet. And on this oneness declaration, it says, I declare that the message we are all one, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent with God, life, one another, is the one spiritual message that the world has been waiting for to bring about loving and sustainable answers to humanity's challenges. That's the first declaration. The message, we are all one, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. There is a destiny among men. None go their way alone. What we put into the lives of others comes back into our own. As within, so without. And as that beautiful declaration of interdependence, what affects the one affects the all. The pain of the one is the pain of the all. The breath of the one is the breath of the all. And the breath of the all is the breath of God. Whatever you conceive your God to be, whatever name you put on it. We collectively can lift our consciousness through this pandemic. Historically, we are not going through anything that we have not been through before on this planet. And as we lift our consciousness beyond dis-ease, beyond upset, beyond upheaval, and recognize our oneness, recognize that the blood that courses through our veins is the same color of the blood that courses through everyone else's veins, that we are all one. We are interconnected. That is the first declaration on this oneness declaration. The second one is, and I'm going to do 3 today, the world does not have to be the way it is. Think about it. The world does not have to be the way it is. And that individual people can change it using the power of spiritual citizenship. That individual people can change it using the power of spiritual citizenship. I love that. That the spiritual citizenship connects us as one. And in this oneness do we live and move and have our being. Yes, the world does not have to be the way it is. And that individual people can change it. What did Margaret Mead say? That famous anthropologist of note. Never underestimate the power of a thoughtful, small group of people to change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has, right? Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So as our humanness gives way to the divine, the Christ consciousness arises triumphant and victorious. The Buddha nature arises through the heart of compassion. And the holy I Am presence. That when Moses looked at the burning bush and said, "Who are you? What are you?" the voice of I Am answered, "Cast off your shoes, for where you stand is holy ground." That there is no spot where God is not, and there is nothing and no thing that comes between us and our spiritual awareness. So on this day, this 4th of July weekend, we acknowledge our interconnectedness, our interdependence. And I believe that it does take a village. I really believe that. And that if we're going to affect real, lasting change, we lift our consciousness above what's going on out here. The relative world. And when people say, well, in the real world, and look outside themselves, that is the relative world of conditions, appearances, and effect. Out there is not the real world. The real world is within us. Be still and know that I am God. That we are all co-creators with a higher power, whatever we conceive, to call that higher power, whatever name we put on it, it matters not. But to acknowledge that which is within us is greater than that which resides in the world. And we have a choice. And when we are about our Father, Mother, God's business, that choice opens doors, portals. And beyond locked doors, guarded doors, the angel of the presence enters. The third one, and I love this, humanity is good and has unlimited potential. And that social transformation starts with what? Personal transformation. I therefore recognize the importance of connecting with my divine essence and inner wisdom throughout my life's journey, allowing the finest and the highest levels of human potential to flourish for the benefit of all. Don't we love that? Humanity is good. I believe that. believe it with all my heart. Humanity is good. And then when fear steps in, we give our power away to the fear. Fear knocked at the door. Love answered. Behold, no one was there. So on this day, we acknowledge that humanity is good and has unlimited potential. And that social transformation starts with what? Personal transformation. If I do not heal my own issues, then I'm projecting them out into the world, into the collective unconsciousness, into that dark space. I therefore recognize the importance of connecting with my divine essence and inner wisdom throughout my life's journey, allowing the finest and the highest levels of human potential to flourish for the benefit of all. We are here for the benefit of all. The breath of the one is the breath of the all, and the breath of the all is the breath of God. It is that pranic energy, that life force energy, that gives us that essence and that knowingness, that as our humanness, we just keep letting go of our humanness so the divinity can arise, triumphant and victorious, whatever we conceive our divinity to be, whatever name we put on it, and to really acknowledge that we are in the world. We're in the world to make a difference. We're in the world to affect change. We're in the world to share our light, to see the goodness, the mercy, the beauty within every living soul. And sometimes it's very, very difficult to see that in some people, isn't it? So we have to just remember that there's a God particle within every living soul. And not everyone is going to agree with us. That doesn't matter. But to keep on keeping on in the truth that sets us free to be who and what we are. And to raise our voices with the universal voice that declares our oneness, that declares who and what we are, and the opportunity that we have. When I was in New York, I was presenting for the United Nations. And of course, I love Ellis Island, and looking at that Statue of Liberty, embodying what that means. Give me your poor, your huddled masses to breathe free. And when we feel that energy, that lamp, that torch, that the Statue of Liberty is shining through, and bring it on. Bring me your poor, your tired, your huddled masses to breathe free beside life's unresting sea. Bring them to me, Lady Freedom, and I will light my lamp. I will prepare the way. And through this light, freedom will be experienced. Freedom will be allowed to live and move and have its being at the center of our being, because we are giving our permission. And I love the mystical beginnings of our country and the recognition that there are certain inalienable rights beyond color, race, creed, sexual orientation, and political affiliation. That we are one. And in this oneness do we live and move and have our being. I love our way of life because every single day we're given a new choice. And through this choice, we can choose peace instead of whatever we're experiencing. We can choose love instead of whatever we're experiencing. We can give our undivided attention to what works in our lives, rather than all the sporadic attention to what's going on in the outer. Remember, when Jesus, who became the Christ, said, I am in perfect peace. My mind is stayed on thee. I don't look at what's not working. I build on what's working. I am on the solution level. I am in perfect peace, and nothing and no thing can disturb my peace of mind. I am looking beyond that to the truth of my being. And that truth is within each and every one of us. and that the angel of the presence enters in and says, do it, do it, do it. Sign. Open. The universe is yours. And ours is the privilege of giving birth to it through each and every one of us. So when we look at our nation, there's a lot of upheaval and there's dissatisfaction. And out of that, out of evil cometh good, right? The prophet tells us, out of evil cometh good. Let's keep our vision on what's working. Never underestimate the power of a small, thoughtful group to change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has, that we keep our consciousness high. We acknowledge our interconnectedness. We acknowledge our spiritual ground of being. And that makes all the difference. So I thank you for viewing today. I say to you that we're all going somewhere. And do you know where that is? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. We are in a high place, and we will not come down. None of these outer things move us. We are in a high place, and we will not come down. I say namaste. The God in me salutes the God in you, and the God in you salutes the God in me. And if I am in that place in me, and you are in that place in you, there is only one of us. Namaste. I say shalom, the peace that passes all understanding. And God bless us, every one. And so it is. Thank you so much for being our virtual community. You know that we are so blessed to have the opportunity to serve, to be part of something larger than ourselves, and to connect with each and every one of you beyond time and space.